Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are back with the new event, the 4 attribute, aka no light and dark. Yeah, I don't know, this event is kind of weird. But we got some new loner decks to look at and explain what the best ones are and how to play them. So let's quickly do the analysis of all of these. So we're going to start off with the Charmer one. Because it's the funniest. So yeah, here we have Charmers. We have one piece of the 4 Charmers: Ausa, Area, Hita, and Win. All of which are in their base forms. So the level 3s, the flip effect monsters that are really, really bad. Yeah, this is by far the worst one. I don't even think you need to look at the other two to know that this is the worst one. It's Charmers, and it's really bad. We're not using the upgraded forms of any of the Charmers for some reason. However, we are playing things like Regeki, Imperm, Harpies, Feather Duster, and the like, so there is a chance to do something there at the very least. But a lot of the cards are pretty lackluster. Awakening is very difficult to summon along with all of the other possessed, so there's that. Nefarious is pretty good, you know, Eater of Nefariousness. This card's pretty decent along with Zoora. These two are probably your best bet at actually doing anything, especially Zoora. It's basically just a free way to get into this guy, which can either become a 3,900 attack point monster, or he can become, I believe, able to attack twice on monsters. And that's basically it. That is the whole game plan. So yeah, let's show you how this deck did. Alright, so here we are going second, as I would say is probably preferable. Having a battle phase is nice, and giving your opponent a battle phase isn't the greatest. My opponent is on Vernusylph, and it's the loner deck most likely, because realistically you would not be playing Ausa in actual Vernusylph. Anyway, out comes the Ausa. They're then going to activate their Vernusylph in full bloom, and normal summon Flourishing Hills. Look, my opponent didn't have the best of hands, and this isn't the best of plays. Had they just set this card, it would have been much better. But alas, I don't blame them for doing what they have done. Besides this, just normal summoning this is just really bad. I don't know why we're doing it, but alas, here we are. Anyway, I'm going to start off with Ida. Ida allows me to do nothing here, but normally what it does is on normal summon, you can special summon a spellcaster with 1500 defense from your hand or deck in face down defense position. This allows us to grab any of our Charmers and put them into face down defense position. And then on the opponent's turn, during your opponent's main phase, you can target you can change a face down spellcaster to face up attack or defense, which allows them to activate their flip effect and steal a monster. So that's pretty nice. Anyway, my opponent is going to Regeki here, which sounds a bit weird, but then they're going to normal summon the Quacky Ducky, which then allows them to steal my Ida, which is why they kind of had to do it that way, because otherwise they wouldn't have had the battle phase to do additional damage, and yeah, this just kind of does the most damage. However, yeah, activating Regeki here is still pretty bad. Again, my opponent's not the greatest, but I kind of needed it. I kind of needed my opponent to not really do much here. We're going to negate the Ausa so that we don't get our monster stolen and have another monster to deal with, and yeah, there we go. We draw a second Ida, so now you can actually see what this deck, or what this card actually does. We're going to go to the end phase because this is literally it. This is it. Now, I could have grabbed the Wind monster as well to place a card my opponent controls onto the bottom of the deck. However, I chose to go with the Earth one because it allows me to steal the Ausa. So that's what we did there. They're going to target an Earth monster. I'm going to activate my Ida now and flip up the Ausa to grab their Ausa, and then they're going to crash and concede. I don't know why exactly they conceded right there, but it does kind of make sense. If they didn't draw a Vernusylph, or you know, a Vernusylph card, or a monster that they could have sent off of a Vernusylph card, basically at that point they are dead. There isn't really a whole lot more that they can do. So yeah, it does make sense. I just normal summon something, go into another Link monster, and attack for basically put them on a 2-turn clock. And we should be good. So, not really out of the question as to why we decided to scoop there. But, still a bit silly. Anyway, yeah. Alright, now we have Infernoid. Now, I know most of you haven't read any of the Infernoids, and honestly, your eyes glaze over when you look at these cards. Besides Decatron, they all look the exact same. Decatron and Onoku are like the two that actually look remotely different. So I'm going to quickly go over what these do. Decatron allows you to send a monster to the graveyard to copy its effects. So you can send any of your other monsters. It gains that level. It gains the level. It doesn't it doesn't become that level, it gains the level. So it's 1 plus whatever you send. And then on top of that, it has the that effect. So if you send something like a Deviati, which has the ability to tribute a monster in order to negate a monster effect, you can gain a monster effect, which is pretty cool. So that's the main combo piece, and why we're playing things like Reasoning and Monster Gate. Being able to summon this onto the field allows you access to an additional monster interaction, right? A monster negate or a spell trap negate or what have you. So there's that. It also sends to the graveyard your Infernoids. All of the Infernoids have the same text, where they cannot be normal summoner set and must be special summoned from hand or grave by banishing a certain amount of Infernoids from your hand or grave. The small ones require 1, the big ones require, the medium ones require 2, and the big ones, most notably, well, only Onoku and Deviati, require 3. Now these two have the effect to negate either a monster or a spell trap. However, the rest of them have all of the same effect. Tribute a monster, target a card in the opponent's graveyard, banish it. All of these are quick effects, okay? They all require tributes as well, and you cannot summon an Infernoid if you have over 8 levels on the field, okay? So if you have monsters with levels or ranks that are above 8, then you are not able to summon these monsters. So do keep that in mind. However, with link monsters, that becomes a lot easier. You can just link them off and then continue special summoning. So there's that. For the rest of the cards, we have things like Void Vanishment, which allows you to add another Void spell trap. We have things like Void Imagination, which allows you to fusion summon into Tierra. We never really do that. It's kind of hard to do so, but it's still pretty decent. This is the main boss monster now, because Void Imagination is so crazy. And then we have Void Feast. This card is absolutely crazy. You summon up to 3 monsters from your deck whose levels equal exactly 8, meaning you can summon out either an 8 by itself, or you can summon things like a 7 and a 1, or a 2 and a 6, or 2 4s, or what have you, right? Just as long as they equal exactly 8, you are able to summon them off of Void Feast. Now, notably, the way to do this is by sending a Void spell trap that is face up on the field to the graveyard. Meaning, if you activate Void Feast, sending something like a Vanishment or an Imagination, you can then activate a second Void Feast to send the first Void Feast, and then you could do that again. And you could just send all 3 of them to the graveyard, utilizing them as the material, which is very funny. So yeah, there's that. Let's hop into the duels and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so here we are going first. Now, notably, this is one of the loner decks that actually prefers to go first. Being able to set up your Infernoids uninterrupted is much better. So we're going to start off here with Reasoning. They're going to call level 1, which is basically the level that we are going to hit. So we're going to mill a whole bunch of cards. Out comes the Decatron, and it's just going to go to the graveyard. That's fine. We're going to activate our Void Vanishment, pitching our Onoku in order to go for Void Feast. We are then going to special summon back the Onoku by banishing 3 of our Infernoids, which we only had 3, but not really much that we can do about that. And then now at least we have a spell trap negate. I should have put this in defense. I didn't realize it had 3,000 defense, but yeah. We're going to go and set our 2 Void Feasts, and as soon as I see Zuora, I'm going to go and activate my 2 Void Feasts in order to summon out a Decatron and a 7 just as additional material, and then another Decatron. So we're going to send both of the Decatrons, and notably, neither Onoku nor Deviati have hard once per turns. They do have once per turns, meaning the same copy cannot negate multiple times, but that does mean that you can negate multiple times utilizing things like Decatron or a Deviati itself. So yeah, there you go. So we're going to send both Deviatis there, make our guy level 10, and then have the Decatron be able to negate a monster effect. Also, notably, it does not negate and destroy, it negates and banishes. I believe same with this one. So if they have a spell trap, or if they have a monster effect, we are going to negate and banish. Out comes the rest of my opponent's field. They're going to activate Awakening of the Possessed. I'm going to negate that with my Onoku. Then they are going to go for Zuora. Then they are going to activate the effect in order to equip, and I'm going to negate and banish. And then they are just going to proceed to the battle phase, realizing they can't really do much more. They're going to walk over the Decatron, which is the correct choice, and they are going to proceed to the end phase. Alright, so we draw, and we draw the Void Feast. Okay, pretty good. I don't really have much more that I can do here, so I'm just going to go for the Nightmare Phoenix. We're going to pitch the other Infernoid that we had, deal with the back row, and special summon back the Sietsamas, and then the Deviati there. We're able to summon the Deviati because this is a 7, which means that we have only 7 levels or ranks on our field, so we can summon whatever else that we need to. So that's pretty cool. We now get to go and punch into my opponent's field and deal quite a bit of damage. I'm going to set the Void Feast just to potentially bait something and proceed from there. Now, I'm not entirely sure what is actually played in the structure decks, so the plays that I do right now are to play around something like Mirror Force. It just seems like something that would be in the loner deck, and I wasn't entirely certain what was in this loner deck at this point. So I'm going to go and activate the Monster Gate that we drew off the top. Now, notably, I have one target. Do you want to know why? All of the rest of my targets are banished. The 3 Decatron, which are the only things that are currently summonable, that are normally the things that are summonable, are all banished. There is one other target, and that is Blaster, Dragon Lord of the Inferno, or whatever. I forget its exact name. But yeah, the last one is the Dragon Lord. So we're going to go for that there. We're going to keep going, hit a whole bunch more cards, which also fills the graveyard for additional summons, and yada yada. Yep, milling more cards, You just mill a whole bunch. Eventually it will stop. Okay, there's Blaster. Literally, I have 1 card left. 1. But that's okay, because we are not going to have another turn. I'm going to go for the Hita here, because we can steal one of their monsters, and then I'm going to go for the Onoku to play around specifically Mirror Force. I don't know if they have it, but I'm going to play around it. We're going to go to the battle phase and deal lethal damage. Good game. Alright, and here we have Vernusylphs. Now, I've already covered Vernusylphs quite a bit on my channel. I've made 2 videos and done a bunch of streams with them, but honestly, the Vernusylphs are pretty cool. What they do is they discard themselves as well as a Vernusylph or another Earth monster to the graveyard in order to do something, as well as then special summon after the effect resolves from the graveyard in Earth monster. This allows them to put something into the graveyard and then special summon, pitching something from the hand like a Vera or a Grand Tusk in order to then get your cards online and get them onto the field. This works very well with a myriad of other strategies, including, most notably, a Pank. Gotta love Pank. Pank for tops is very useful, allowing you to go second very effectively, while also just being an additional big body that you can summon off of any of your Vernusylph effects. This one allows you to add a monster, from your grave to your hand. This one gives you a draw. This one allows you to add an Earth Fairy, specifically, which all of these are Earth Fairies, from your deck to your hand. This one allows you to add a Vernusylph card, and this one sends an Earth monster to the graveyard that can be normal summoned or set, which means you can send Pink, which is kind of funny. Also just allows you to search one of your Vernusylphs as well by discarding another Earth monster as well. It's kind of bad. In all honesty, this is probably the worst card in this deck, and I never used it. The reason that you wouldn't use it is because it's just better to use a Vernusylph. Vernusylphs allow you to do more or less the same thing, oftentimes, unless you specifically draw like this and one of these two. But yeah, the Vernusylphs also give you a monster on the field, which is much better. We have the triple Pank. We have one Beast King Barbaros, which again, if it's special summoned, you're able to just get a 3,000 attack point monster in a 8-star body, which is pretty nice. We also have King Beast Barbaros. This is Beast King. This is King Beast. Don't know what the difference is. It's just another big beater. Grand Tusk is pretty good at being able to destroy, target up to 2 cards and destroy them on a special summon from the Vernusylphs, which is very nice. And then we have Vera. I've talked about Vera before. This card is absolutely crazy. If you have 5 Earth monsters, you negate at the point of resolution on a monster effect, which is very useful, meaning you can summon this in chain in order to negate something, which is crazy. We also have the ability to, on the opponent's turn, special summon a monster from the graveyard, as long as it is an Earth, meaning you could special summon something like a Pink and then destroy a card. You could special summon something like a Grand Tusk and then pop more cards. You could also special summon a Vernusylph, which would then trigger Full Bloom to bounce a card, which is very nice. And then on top of that, the last thing that it does is it allows you to just steal an opponent's monster. Just no restrictions, just target, steal, taking control of it, and then it becomes an Earth as well. So yeah, that's the deck. The one last thing to note is this is basically a Monster Reborn, or a Call of the Haunted, as well as you can banish it from the graveyard if you have no cards in your hand, and special summon as many Vernusylphs as possible from the graveyard. So let's show you how this works. Alright, so here we are going first, actually. Now, I would say that the Vernusylphs actually do prefer to go second, given the fact that they are playing things like Pank, as well as the the Raigekis, the Harpies, Feather Duster, etc., etc. Just makes it easier to go second, as well as in a lower power format, it's just easier to go second and break boards and, you know, get that battle phase, etc. But yeah, we're going to go and activate our Ducky in order to send specifically this card to the graveyard while searching the Awakening Forests. This is very important. Sorry, I kind of skipped through this, but then we activated the Awakening Forests, which then allowed us to send the Vernusylph and special summon the other Vernusylph to the graveyard. Or sorry, send Vera, the Vernusylph goddess, to the graveyard. And then we get to normal summon our Flowering Fields, setting Harpy's Feather Duster to keep all of our cards out of our hand, because, again, we do have this card in grave, which requires no cards in hand for it to work. But now we can link off all of our monsters and go into a DLS. Now, notably, this card can be targeted, but it is just big, which is what we need. It's a big earth monster, and that's pretty nice. My opponent is going to start off with Cynet Mining, allowing them to grab up a Pascalis. I don't know how to say this card. They're going to activate the effect of their Pascalis, and in chain, I'm going to activate my effect to special summon. Okay? So in chain, we're going to activate our summon effect, and we are going to summon out our 4 Vernusylphs. We have 4 in grave, which will give us exactly 5 earth monsters for the negation of Vera. This will then allow Vera to negate at the point of resolution. Now that it is on the field, while this is resolving, we negate it and destroy it, and it ends their turn. Also, during that same turn, we get a special summon back the Ausa from the graveyard, and now we have a full field on the opponent's turn, by the way. Yeah, we're just going to switch everything into attack position and proceed to battle. The reason we can do this is because we can activate the effect of our Vernusylph in the Awakening Forest, which on the field has the ability to target a Vernusylph monster you control. Its attack becomes double until the end of the turn, along with the Awakening Bear giving you access to an additional attack. This can make a pretty potent OTK, especially with Vera. So, yeah, we just proceed to battle and attack in with all of the damage in order to have well over lethal. So, good game. Alright, so in all honesty, it is pretty simple that the Vernusylph one is the best. Having access to triple Pank, the double Raigeki, double Called By, double Imfip, all of that stuff, as well as Pot of Extrav, makes this deck really consistent. On top of that, it just has the best access to the most options. Vera is a very good powerhouse in a more pure version of the deck, being able to steal a monster, being able to special summon a monster during the opponent's turn, and most importantly, having that insane negate. If you're able to set it up, it's very nice. And then, of course, Pank is just Pank, and you can honestly just play Pank Control, which is also pretty good. What is lacking is the spell traps. Both of these spell traps, or sorry, not the spell trap, both of the traps in particular are very good. This one allows you to bounce additional cards to the hand, and then this one, as you saw, is also very useful, being able to special summon as well as basically being soul charged, which is very nice. So yeah, all in all, very, very strong. Most definitely the best one. The Infernoid one isn't too bad. You still have the ability to negate with things like Onoko and Deviati, which is much better in a lower power format, which I don't necessarily think that this is a lower power format, or like too low power. Like, you can still play Adamantipator and basically it's at full power, besides Block Dragon. But with the Vernusylphs and the Ishizu cards, like, that's not too difficult. You can play Zodiac, you can play Marincess at more or less at full power. There's a bunch of decks that are really strong. Salad is like also basically untouched, besides not having access to access code, which, hey, who cares? So yeah. But with that being said, you know, this is still a decent deck. I would stay very, very far away from this deck unless you have a Death Wish. This is a really, really bad deck. It's not very fun. It doesn't really do anything. You basically just have to kind of hope that your opponent doesn't know what your cards do, or that you draw into one of these 5 cards, which isn't very likely. So there you go. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.